Her Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love.
So anxious resistant. So remember there were 4 categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anxious resistant kids were on the opposite end of the spectrum. They didn't have a lot of self-confidence. They really clung to their caregivers, whether it's parents. When I say caregivers, I mean parents, grandparents, just old people in their lives who were, really part of that initial bonding experience. For these kids, they tended to have really exaggerated emotional reactions to stuff, but they also kept the distance from their peers. How did this translate into adulthood? That translated into anxious, preoccupied adults. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of formed less secure bonds with partners and feel really desperate for love and affection.
Good evening, everyone. We are so excited that you are here with us. If it's Monday night, you are live with KW and Jay. That's Kamala, Winston, and Jimmy.
Amen.
We are so excited that you are here with us on tonight. You are not live with Kamala. She sends her regrets. She is grading papers. Something that you may not know. My wife is a teacher also, and her class ended on yesterday, and her grades are due by midnight tonight, and so she's grading papers to get all those in. And so Jimmy, she sends her love and regrets that she can't be here to chat with our guests on tonight. How are you doing, Pastor Gibson?
Man, I am peacock proud and honeymoon happy. I am doing good, man. I can't complain. If I got any better, I'll be your twin.
Oh Lord. So listen, in our group, Safe, which you recently decided to help me with, on Mondays, we celebrate. We're thankful for something. And let me ask you before I say, what are you thankful for today? What are you celebrating today?
I am celebrating the fact that my wife and I are now grandparents again for the ninth time. Woo! We just got our ninth grandbaby last week on Wednesday. Zimri Rain Best. Zimri Rain Best. And so I am so thankful that Minnie got through the pregnancy, got the delivery, and that the baby is healthy and is doing fantastic. And that my wife is able to be there in New Jersey with them to help them with the baby.
Well, we are celebrating Zimri with you, and we're thanking God for safe delivery. So we
Yes.
want to celebrate that with you.
So before you move on, Pastor, what are you thankful for today?
I am thankful, Pastor, and you're not going to believe me, but I have a witness. God turned off my data today. I was about to make a decision that I probably would be regretting right now. And I could not connect to the internet.
Wow.
No. You see,
Wow.
you
No.
see, no. Let me
Yeah.
say this again.
Come on.
God
Now. Make it
turned
work.
off my data.
Yes.
You know where it says, let me find it there on my phone to read exactly what it says, because I had not been into this thing for where it says cellular. There you go. Where it says cellular data. God went in and turned off
Your data.
my cellular data. And I have a witness.
Amen.
I was about to make a decision that I would be regretting right now in this moment.
Wow.
And I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with my phone. I can't. What's wrong with my phone?
It was what was right with it.
It was right with it. And so I turned off the whole thing. And when I turned it back on, then the message comes up and says, your cellular data is not on. And I went in there and it was off. I said, you. And I have a witness.
Wow.
Our producer was on the phone with me, talking to me, and was trying to send me a message at the same time. And she was saying to me, why is it green? Why is it not blue? What's going on? God turned off my cellular data. So that's I'll preach that at some point.
Yeah. When God turns off your data.
But I'm grateful to God that He understands us. He understands our frustrations. He understands our pains. And He doesn't always do it, but sometimes he steps out of the realm of faith and do some physical stuff to save us. And I'm so grateful to him. And not just to save us for eternity, but to save us even some of this temporal pain that we can inflict on ourselves.
Amen.
And so I'm grateful to him. So that's what I'm grateful for. I'm so grateful to those of you that have joined us, and we would love for you to tell us what you're celebrating this Monday, what you're thankful for this Monday. This program, this I don't know if you call it podcast. I don't have a name for it, Jimmy, but it's our Monday night program came out of our Kamala and my ministry, out of where we have inflicted some serious pain on each other. And as we are learning the healing process, as we're learning to heal, we wanted to go on journeys with people and their healing story. One person, Pastor Jimmy, that you haven't met, well, you probably know her though, because she's from Allegheny East originally. But Rachel Prevet was one of our early guests, and that girl did some real good. So I'm really hoping we can have her back at some point and check in with her on her healing journey and have that conversation. We invite you to check out our store at www.kwministries.net. We have some really cool stuff in there. We would love for you to go shopping, and we would love for you to, there are gifts. You can get gifts. And then the amazing thing, Kamala and I are working on a project that we wanted to release for her in time when she got her PhD. Jimmy, I just couldn't wait to see on the cover Kamala Glenn Taylor, PhD.
Oh man,
yeah, we were working towards that, but life happens. We weren't able to do that. And if you have our landing page, you can send it up. But we're working towards this for Christmas. We are working on a devotional, a journey with Jesus through Matthew, lessons from Jesus. I'll get that right when she puts it up. And then a journey to healing, a therapeutic approach. There it is, a journey through the Gospel of Matthew, lessons from Jesus. And then we have a journey to healing, reaching people with a desperate cry, a spiritual approach. And again, I want to change that name to a pastoral approach versus spiritual. And then a journey through healing, reaching people with a desperate cry, a therapeutic approach. So those are the projects that we're working on. You notice, Jimmy, the therapeutic approach is more expensive. That's that PhD.
Yeah.
Right, I did.
That's right. There's some credentialing that comes.
There's some credentialing. Listen. We got student loans to pay that, man.
Yeah, man. Those PhDs ain't free, baby. Those PhDs ain't free.
So I'm gonna let you introduce our guest. He was all excited when I told him you're co-hosting with us. So I'm gonna let you introduce our guest, man.
Let me tell you all that you all are going to be blessed tonight by the wonderful Pastor Quine Cousins, all the way from Hotlanta. He's been on before, I believe.
Yes, sir.
He's talked about his journey through the experience of his life.
Yes.
And Pastor Quine is married to the lovely Cheryl Cousins, formerly Cheryl Rogers of New Jersey. And I knew his wife way before I knew him.
Well, I'm happy I had you introduce him.
we were choir members. Me and his wife were choir members at First Church in Washington, D.C. years ago, and did youth ministries together. So I am tickled pink that I got my friend, my buddy, my road dog, we sit up and talk about sports when we ain't online nowhere. We sit up and talk about things that we need to do at our churches. And he's at the and Pastor Quine, you correct me if I'm wrong, the Lighthouse Church down in the Atlanta area. So put your hands together, get your hearts together. I bring on my friend, Pastor Quine Cousins.
All right. Pastor Cousins, welcome back.
Wow. Well, I am peacock happy, hippopotamus proud that you all have extended the invitation for me to come back and join you on a Monday night.
Oh yes, you said that last time.
I told y'all last time. I'm a huge wrestling fan. And so that's my Monday night preve. And so I must love y'all so much that I stopped watching my program to come back a second time. I had fun the last time. I'm grateful to be back, and I'm grateful to be joined by uh, Dr. Jimmy Gibson. Um,
You're speaking
um,
prophetically, Bishop. You're speaking prophetically.
Good friend of mine, great preacher, great pastor. Um, and so I'm grateful tonight to be able to dive in and to share once again.
Well, man, we are grateful to have you. We're grateful to have you. What have you been up to since we last spoke?
Oh man, a whole lot. Let's see. Where you want me to start? So I've been just trying to. Well, we had camp meeting
Mm-hmm.
for 10 days. We were down in
Mm-hmm.
hot Orangeburg, South Carolina. And it's now after camp meeting, we had vacation, and now my wife is has gotten back to school, and so we're just trying to focus on the last part of this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting ready for PELC, which
Yes.
is in December. I've been trying to get Pastor Gibson to join me on the front row,
Oh, I'm
but
gonna be there, Doc. I'm
but
gonna be there,
but
Doc.
hopefully, last year he dipped out on me for whatever reason, but I'm hoping to get him on the front row this year, um, with me for PELC. So
You know,
we're excited
Quinn,
about that.
I heard, what are those flowers called? Pinsettia? What is it called?
Poinsettias.
Poinsettia.
Poinsettias.
I heard that you were the reason they put up that
Yeah,
poinsettia up there. Is that true?
Well,
he's one of the reasons. It's about
He's one.
55 other ones that on that front row.
well,
It's about 25 other ones that go up there, Doc.
well,
It's like the Jericho Wall now. They put those poinsettias there.
see. I don't blame myself for it. Um, they've
You
all
credit yourself.
I credit myself for it. But check this out though. So they talked about putting up a gate or something, a big
Oh
gate. But I'm like, why? I mean, let us have our fun, our moment.
Yes,
And
yes,
so I petitioned my good friend Dr. Snell. I said, hey man, let's not put the poinsettias up. Let's
yes.
leave the stage
Let
free.
the organ go
Let it all
free.
go free. Let us have church.
And people don't
You know,
understand the release. The
yes.
if people could only understand. I heard I heard Elder Bell preaching a sermon. You know who that is, Jimmy. And he shared a story about visiting a church, a not one of our churches.
Mhm.
And he shared, that it was one of those churches where the people ran. And he said he don't know why. He just took off running too. And he said at the end of that run, he felt like just this emotional
Mhm.
release.
Right.
And our
Right.
people will never understand the emotional baggage that we're all carrying, that when we can get together as pastors and just let our hair down and take our shoes off and just shout. You
And
remember Myron Edmonds at camp meeting, Jimmy? Fly, I'm still fly.
The jump,
and
jump,
and and,
Jump.
jump.
I know a lot of people who say, well, that's just entertainment. Well, it may be
Okay, it's entertainment for us. We love it.
it may be entertainment. It may be entertainment for us, or you may see it as entertainment. But as preachers, we are preparing to preach,
Yes.
preparing sermons. We are visiting people, whether it's physically or virtually. We are going to hospitals. We're burying family members, church member family members. We have so much on us as preachers, and so for those 2 or 3 days,
Yes.
that's our time
Yes.
because there are often times when we as preachers are not preached to,
Yes.
you know, and
Yeah.
so that's our moment. Um, I'm a little Pentecostal / Baptist too.
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell y'all something now. I'm gonna tell y'all something. Put in a plug right now. Get out the way. We got one of the baddest preachers coming to Pelt this year.
Yes.
Um, for Monday night in the person of Dr. Gina Marcia Stewart.
Uh-huh.
If you haven't heard Dr. Stewart preach, I need you to go to Christ Missionary Baptist Church website, a YouTube channel, and hear her preach. She is a flat out preacher.
Well,
And
I'm,
and
I'm
and
going to
and,
save it for
and,
Pella.
and what she did at Hampton,
Mm,
oh
mm,
my gosh.
mm.
Listen, I'm coming for all of it. I'm coming for all of it. I really am. Coming for all of it.
Pastors, um, that 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 Sunday through Wednesday,
Yes, sir.
I want us to imagine
Mm-hmm.
back in the Old Testament
Mm-hmm.
that you had a day of atonement, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to tell me
They
that
didn't
when
shout.
them folks, when they brought their sins and that priest
Hallelujah.
took it into that
Hallelujah.
most holy place,
Hallelujah.
and then when he came out
Hallelujah.
to let
Thank you,
them know
God.
that their sins.
Yes.
So when we come to church as pastors, when we come to church on a
Yes.
regular basis,
Yes.
we come to church to be freed,
Mm,
not to be
mm,
burdened.
right,
Amen.
We
That's
come to be
good.
built up and
right.
not beat down. So when I
Amen.
leave church, I should leave shouting,
Yes.
Mm, mm,
because the church house is where my sins come to die
Yes.
so that I can live to tell another story.
Now,
hmm
this is not what this program is
I
about.
know.
But
We
if
know,
you
we
would just
know.
allow, but no. But if you would just allow me real quick, when people say, they say you must walk softly in the sanctuary, and people don't realize that God was mad with the children of Israel when he was saying that. People don't realize that when they're telling us to come softly in the sanctuary, God is saying, I'm not pleased with your worship. Don't come in here lifting no unholy hands.
Come on
They
now.
don't,
Come
they
on
don't, they
now.
don't realize what they're saying, and they don't realize the importance of the emotional aspect of worship. But that's not what we're here for. But we can't talk about Pellet without giving a shout out to Dr. Jesse Wilson. Can
Yeah,
we?
Oh
That
yeah.
wouldn't
Oh
that wouldn't be
yes.
fair. That wouldn't be
Oh
right.
yes. Oh
that's right.
yes. The
So
bishop.
we
Bishop.
appreciate the bishop of Adventism, the scholar of
Yes.
of Black Mecca,
The presiding prelate. Come
the
on now.
preside, all of our mentor, our internet teacher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't feel like the internet is right when he's not on
Yes, sir.
it.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes, sir.
don't. I don't. He was doing evangelistic meetings in where Birmingham he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
was he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Birmingham?
Yeah.
Birmingham.
He the one that brought the chair down there. That's who brought, because I was in Birmingham.
Well,
That's who gave that man that chair.
Oh Lord,
So
mercy.
pray for me. Okay, all right. Well, we're really here to talk with Pastor Cousins about having success in spite of a disability of partial blindness. A man who was told that he couldn't go to college, but went to college. Man who was told that he was going to work in some fast food place or wherever, but who has traveled this country. I don't know if I'd be lying if I say this world, preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. Pastor, let's start with when you got that letter from Oakwood that you were going. Let's pick up there,
Okay.
and then we'll journey on. What was that like? And of course, Pastor Gibson, I already had this conversation with Pastor. You can jump in any minute. What was that like when you heard you were going to Oakwood?
Well, let me just give you a backstory of that before I jump into that. Again, I mentioned in the last program that when I graduated from high school in 1996, um, it was 5 years later that um, that I made the decision, off of the encouragement of my father in the ministry, Elder Calvin Watkins Sr., for me to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
I applied to many schools. In fact, I applied to Morehouse because I wanted to be a Morehouse man. I'm not going to tell. I'm gonna tell the truth, shame the devil. I wanted to be a Morehouse man. That fell through. I applied to Southern. I applied to CUC. And that fell through. I applied to Southwestern Adventist University. That fell through. And then um, when I applied to Oakwood, um, I remember going to the mailbox one day, and because I told my mom, I said I'm going to college in January, and she was like, "Man, you ain't going to college. You just talking," you know. So during the fall of 2000, um, I went to the mailbox, and when I went to the mailbox, I got a letter out the mailbox. It was from Oakwood College because it was Oakwood College at the time. And so when I opened the letter, I didn't read all of it yet. When I opened the letter, I saw the word congratulations.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
so and
sir.
so for me, I didn't need to read the whole letter
Yes,
Mm.
sir.
Eh,
because the word congratulations
Yeah.
signified, it
Yeah.
sealed it that hey, I was on my way to something.
Yeah.
And so when I got in the house, I told my mom I got my acceptance letter. She still didn't believe me, and I showed it to her, and she was like, "Wow, you really going to college?" I'm like, "Yeah, I told you I'm going to college."
Hmm.
So you know, that set up me leaving Atlanta in January to begin that
Your
journey.
journey. All right. Let me ask you real quick a follow up before Pastor Gibson comes in. Real quick, let me ask you, Pastor Cousins. You mentioned Pastor Calvin Watkins. Would you tell us and those who are watching, and please, we're kindly asking you to enter your questions for Pastor Cousins, join the conversation. Please don't, we have prizes. Yes, we have prizes, so forth and so on. Please join the conversation. Let's just have fun. Pastor, you mentioned Pastor Calvin Watkins. Would you please tell us how important it is to have mentors in your life, to have people you call spiritual father? But even if you're not a church person, how important is it to have mentors in your life? How important is it to be a mentor?
I think it's very important. Um, Mentors are individuals who I believe will tell you what you need to hear, and not what you want to hear. Um, Mentors are trusted confidants who will um, allow you to see things in a different direction, who would encourage you, um, who will build you up, and also who believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I met Elder Watkins, s- I started going to a tent effort in July of '98.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how I came into Adventism was my mother had moved to a particular area in the city of Atlanta
Mm-hmm.
in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated from high school in '96, and I met a gentleman in that neighborhood who was actually my next door neighbor, and his name was David Cantrell. I tell the story all the time, and he always tells me, "Man, you got to stop calling my name." I'm like, "Bruh, listen, you were part of that blessing," you know. So that's our inside joke. But when I met David Cantrell, one of the things that he did for me,
Mm-hmm.
even though I was already a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
I had already knew who Jesus was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need a Bible study. I knew the Bible for myself. I knew a God for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was Baptist born. I was Baptist bred, and I
Mm-hmm.
said when I died, I was gonna be Baptist dead.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my thing, the good old Baptist church. And but when I met David Cantrell, my next door neighbor at the time, he started a friendly relationship with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell my members often, I say, it's not about giving somebody a Bible study up front.
Mm-hmm.
Many times, many of us as in the Seventh Day Adventist context, for those of you who are in our context, um, some many times some of our people like to give Bible studies first and try to get people in the church first,
You mean
and
Adventist study?
Adventist studies first, and then try to build a relationship later.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jesus' method was he mingled with people.
Yeah.
He desired their good. You know, he met their needs. And
Yeah.
then he bade them come follow me. And so
So hold on
that
a second. Hold on. So you're saying a mentor, listen to this, Jimmy. A mentor mingles, meet needs, and then models.
right,
Mm.
right. So and so not only is Elder Watkins my mentor and my father in the ministry, but Elder Cantrell, David Cantrell is another mentor of mine too.
Mm-hmm.
Who began the process. Um, I mean, we will go hang out without talking about church or
Mm-hmm.
God. He was there for me in some of the worst times of my life, some of the disappointments of my life, and so he just built relationship with me to the point where when it was time for me to invite him to come to my church, he came.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, when I would tell him, "Man, I'm gonna come to your church one Saturday," and I never showed up. You know, but he invited me to come to his church
Mm-hmm.
without forcing anything on me.
Mm-hmm.
He never put a Bible study in my hand, say, "Hey, go read
Mm-hmm.
this," you know. And so when time came, and this was a 2-year process, we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
from 96 to 98.
Mm-hmm.
In 1998, I was coming home from work. I
Mm-hmm.
was a store manager at McDonald's. I was coming home from work, and a lady put a flyer in my hand. It was July of 98. I never forget it. She put a flyer in my hand with this picture of this preacher. And many times when people, let's say for instance, if TD Jakes coming to town,
Mm-hmm.
people pass out flyers. Want you to come down and hear Bishop Jakes.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I was like, I'm good. I don't need to hear anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but God, Pastor Gibson, and Pastor Taylor was in the details.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the details, and so what happened was when she put the flyer in my hand, I saw the big canvas cathedral come up under the tent, the subject, the person who's preaching, the picture, and so what I did was I threw the flyer away
Mm-hmm.
because in my mind I wasn't going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But when I hooked up with my neighbor that day, it was on a Tuesday, and I said, "Hey man, I want to take you to dinner because you always taking me to dinner. I want to treat you. I just got paid, like it was Friday night, right?"
Yeah.
And so, he said, "Well, no, we can go. We can go out to church." And I said, "You going to church on a Tuesday?" He was like, "Yeah, man." I said, "Can I go?" I didn't question what church he was going to.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he was a Seventh Day Adventist, but I said, "Can I go?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Yeah." So I went home, took a shower. I was suited and booted. I had on a full double-breasted three-piece suit in the middle of
Oh, you're
July.
one of the, you're one of them real Baptists.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And so, but the flip side of that was this. He said, "Man, you might want to go change clothes. You're gonna be up under a tent." So I did, because I was burning up in that suit. I ain't gonna lie. But when I got to the tent and I heard Elder Watkins preach that night,
Mm.
I had never seen a man sweat out his entire
I
suit.
assume.
I'm like, I gotta keep coming back. And so ever since then, I came back every single night.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some nights my neighbor didn't go, but I
Mm-hmm.
still went
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because of what he was teaching us and what I was hearing. And I would write scriptures down, and
Mm-hmm.
I would go back in my private study and read everything he talked about.
And that built that relationship where he would end up becoming a mentor.
Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and when it was time for the altar call for baptism, I ran and got my bag. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't no questions. I had no questions. And so here we are. And when we started our church, New Jerusalem was the church. Going to celebrate 25 years in a couple of weeks. When we started the church, I was a charter member. I was one of
Mm-hmm.
the very first deacons of the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so Elder Watkins took me under his wings per
Mm-hmm.
se, and we and formed a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's even that relationship even to this day. He was very instrumental in me getting my first call into ministry,
Mm-hmm.
and so God has been truly good, and so that's what happened.
Man, that's exciting to hear, and I'm encouraging folk out there that's listening to please be a mentor to
Yeah,
someone. You don't know whose life you'll change. Jimmy?
right, right.
Now, Pastor Quinn, you talked about a mentor, and one of the things that you initially said about a mentor, that a mentor tells you things that
Mm-hmm.
you need to hear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As you were going through your disappointments of getting the denial letters
Mm-hmm.
from all of the schools and all of the folks and this, that, and the other, what was some of the difficult conversations
Yeah, good
that your
question.
mentors had with you to say, hey, you may have to look at this, or may have to look at that, or whatever?
Well, I'll tell you one difficult conversation I had. I remember when I applied to go to Southern, and for me, I'm not I'm new to this, so I don't see the difference between the black and the white conferences or establishment because I'm considered a new believer per se at the time, and um, when I took a recommendation form to one of my mentors, he looked at me and was like, um, he said, why Southern? He said, why Southern? I said, well,
It's good.
they, I said, well, I applied, you know. He said, well, and by the way, this was not,
My
thi-
shoulder.
and by the way, this was not Elder Watkins. So let me say that for the record, okay? Since we're live, this was not Elder Watkins. This was another mentor of mine because I have several mentors for several. I have several mentors for different reasons in my
Don't
life.
lie now, preacher.
Okay, so he said to me, he said, "I'll sign your recommendation." He said, "But if you go to this school, you're not gonna get picked up in a black church." And for me, it was a little discouraging.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. That's not what I thought you were gonna say. Yeah.
However, as I began to understand, I said, "Oh, he was right." You see what I'm saying? Because many times we see things as a discouragement because we may be used to people telling us what we want to hear
Right. Right.
and telling us what feels good to us. And the truth hurts.
So, with that hurt and with that disappointment, what motivated you to continue? What motivated you to say, forget the rejection, forget
Yes.
all of
After all those letters, mm-hmm,
what was it that drove you
to
day by
keep
day to
going,
continue to
to
keep pressing?
persevere.
Yeah.
What,
When it
what
seemed like the sky kept falling, what made you get up and dust yourself off after getting hit by that folding chair? I had to bring that up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
what what drove me was when I initially had a conversation with Elder Watkins. I call him Pops. You know, And I said to him, because I originally went to him about Oakwood, and how Oakwood actually came up. Naps came to our church one Sabbath,
Mm.
and Naps played a video.
Dr. Paul.
Dr. Dr. Paul was there. They did a video, and Naps was affiliated with Oakwood at the time, and so that is what drew me to Oakwood. And so when I went to LY, because I said, "Hey man, I'm impressed with this college Oakwood," and he said, "Well, you should apply. You need to apply." I said, "Well, I can't go to college." He was like, "Why?" And I told him what happened in '96 and my experiences, and he looked me in my eyes and he
Yes,
told
sir.
me, he said, "You can do whatever you put your mind to.
Mm.
Mm.
No matter what people tell you you cannot do, with God you can." And so for me, with all the rejections and all the disappointments, that conversation was the conversation that kept coming up in my memory
Mm.
of him sharing with me, "Hey, guess what? People may say you can't, but God says you can."
Mm.
And so that was my motivation.
Preaching.
Because the Bible tells us, "He that begins a good work
Mm.
will finish it to the day of Jesus Christ."
Mm.
The
I
Bible says we can do all things through Christ that gives us strength.
I think that was so powerful. And I hope that as you're listening, you're hearing the importance of the words we speak into people's lives. Pastor Cousins told his mentor, I can't go to college. His mentor said, whatever you put your mind to, you can do. And he went to college. And it's so important, it's imperative, the words we speak into people's lives. So, Pastor Cousins, talk to us now your first day on Oakwood's campus. And let me say quickly too, don't it's not true that if you go to Southern, a regional conference won't hire you. There are many pastors who work in the
Oh,
regional
absolutely.
work that went
Absolutely.
to Southern. So I want for that
Right. Right. And,
to be clear.
But
and,
also, I think that
and,
at
and, and
the
that's
time,
and that's why I said the person who told me that was not my father in the ministry.
Right, I got you. I got
Because
you.
he wouldn't tell me anything of that nature.
Right, I got you. I got
But
you.
but
But keep in mind now, the person that said that to you, they were looking out for you. They just
absolutely,
they
absolutely,
used excessive language
right,
to make the point go to Oakwood. So I
right,
get it. I
right,
completely get it. I
absolutely.
probably have said that to somebody before, but I just don't want. I'm not gonna lie to you. I probably have, but I just don't want somebody who does not understand our context
Text,
to
right,
walk away thinking
correct,
that our regional work is prejudice.
correct,
The person who said that they were making a point. Go to
correct,
Oakwood. If you're going to pastor in a black church, go to a black
correct,
school so you can learn
correct,
about black people.
correct,
So you can learn about James Cone.
correct,
That's
correct,
the point they were trying to make.
correct.
Versus that there is no hiring. Yeah. Go ahead, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
no, you fine. No, you good. You can keep going.
Okay, so I remember my first day on Oakwood's campus, man. It was like I was in heaven. Tell us about your first day. So you got a letter that you're going to college, but you're still not there. Tell us, walk us through your first day at college and understanding your disability. Understand, because Oakwood is not equipped for somebody with a disability. Let's just be honest about it. But maybe they are now. But talk to us about your first day on campus, how you felt. Talk to us about your first day at the religion department, meeting Dr. Shan, meeting Dr. Doggett. Walk us through that, because you see the smile on your face. Walk us through that, and just and talk to us and mingle in that conversation. In that, as you talk to us about that, mingle your disabilities, how it's affecting you, how it's not affecting you, how it's helping you. Talk to us about that.
So if you are visually impaired, there are different resources that you have at your exposure. Um, and if I could use some of the language when it comes to visual aids, um, when I was in high school, I had a lot of equipment
Mm-hmm.
that helped that aided me in my
Mm-hmm.
academic process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so and so and this is not a discredit to
Oh,
Oakwood.
I know where you're going. It's the truth.
It's not a discredit to Oakwood,
It's the truth.
but um, I left my mama's house at 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I must say, even though I needed to do this to find my own way and my own path
Mm-hmm.
as a man,
Mm-hmm.
but leaving the 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 comfort of protection,
Mm-hmm.
leaving the shieldedness of being home with mama.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was difficult for a moment.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on your own, you
Yeah.
know. You're really making decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so um, the process was great. It was challenging. My very first day on campus, it was cold. It rained, and this is North Alabama in January. Um, Meeting new friends, meeting
Mm-hmm.
individuals from my church back at home was a good thing because
Mm-hmm.
a couple of people from my church went to Oakwood,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was a good thing.
That's a great thing.
It
Mm-hmm.
was a great thing because it was somebody I knew,
Mm-hmm.
accustomed to knowing, um, and me finding myself, making new friends. Um, the friends I made are friends of a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
How did you navigate? Because I know you don't want
now,
to.
now, let me tell you how I navigate. I'm going there.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I didn't have the visual aids that I needed,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even though Oakwood had a disabilities ministries department.
Mm.
Um, in the Adventist context, and I'm saying this for people who are watching, and you may be non-Adventists who watch this particular program. In the Adventist context, we have what is called disability ministries,
Mm-hmm.
and usually, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong. Disability ministries focus on wheelchairs, ramps for your church, handicap accessibility for your church. You know, that's what people see disability ministries as
Mm-hmm.
or has been. But now, disability ministries encompasses a whole lot of stuff now.
Right.
And so when I got to Oakwood, even though I had been communicating with the disability ministries department, with the disabilities department,
Mm-hmm.
um, by phone, and when I met the person face to face, one of the things that helped was her writing letters to my professors to give me more time on tests,
Mm-hmm.
to give me more time to do papers, you
Mm-hmm.
know, for them for them to understand my situation,
Mm-hmm.
um, an ADA statement, if you will, for all my professors. So all my professors were accommodating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I never had a professor that was very hard on me when it came to giving me extra time for tests, or blowing up material for me to be able to see it,
Mm-hmm.
or allowing me to sit in the front of the classroom, or allow me to record their classes.
Mm-hmm.
I had professors who were very much understanding, even though I didn't have the equipment, the physical equipment that I
Mm-hmm.
had in high school that I needed for college. Because you got to understand, I'm 5 years from going to school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to college straight out of high school. I went to college 5 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So my mind is not as fresh as it should have been coming from high school right into college.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a challenge for me. My first couple years were a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
But but God saw me through. Um, did I fail some classes? Absolutely, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because I struggled in some classes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the state helped me out with resources and
Mm-hmm.
equipment that I needed to aid me. And when those resources started kicking in, um, my academic process started to excel,
Increase. Mm-hmm.
increase much better than it did when I first started. So
Mm-hmm.
my first encounter on campus was a wonderful experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, Going to a Friday night program, I had
Before you go to the Friday night program, I want to back you up for a second, unless Jimmy had something before I. Okay. Um, Two things I wanted. Well, I want to comment on the people piece. What you just said is what Oakwood lacked in physical aids, it made up in people. Because if you went to Morehouse or wherever and they had those physical aids but didn't have the professors we had, Dr. Shan and Dr. Doggett, and didn't have those professors we had, it could have made life a lot more harder than not having the physical aids at Oakwood. And so if Kamala was here, I can tell you now, she would have stopped to say, we need people. We
Mhm,
people
mhm,
make the greatest impact on each other more
right,
than anything else. People make the great impact on us.
right.
Now, Pastor, somebody on here, and including current company, have dealt with failures in our own life. So, for example, just in full transparency, I'm going through a season of what seems like failure right now in my own life. Minister to us about how you dealt with those failures. And it's similar to the question Pastor asked about the letters, rejection letters. Now, talk to us about when you had that first class failure. Talk to us and don't, tell us about the low part, but then tell us how you came out of it and what motivated you to move on to do the class again and do better.
So I remember I took a class in the religion department, and the class was called Religion and Language.
Dr. Mervyn Warren.
And I had in that particular class, it was a challenge for me. Um, and it was a class that introduces you to the Greek language. It was a challenge, and I must be honest. There were times I didn't study like I should have because I didn't understand it.
Mhm,
And he was much accessible as he could.
mhm,
Um, but I remember failing a quiz, and he had a conversation with me. And let me just say this for the record: I didn't take it harshly.
mhm,
As a matter of fact, I didn't take it as him saying something negative.
mhm,
His concern for me was, I am not saying that you're not going to make it in ministry, but it may be a difficult season for you.
mhm,
And you may want to consider doing something else
mhm,
at some point in life.
mhm,
He never said don't do ministry. He never said that God said, he never said that you ain't fit for this.
mhm,
He said, you know, this may not be for you.
mhm,
Now, the people who heard it got offended, and they were like, "How dare he say this to you? You." And I'm like, "No, no, no. I didn't take it that way."
mhm,
You know. I took it as motivation.
Mm.
I took it as motivation because life itself is not life itself is not a Krispy Kreme donut.
Mhm.
Mm.
I mean, we let's be honest, we like Krispy Kreme.
Mhm.
If you know what Krispy Kreme is.
They don't have them here in Louisiana,
Mhm.
Doc.
Oh, God bless y'all. Well, well,
We got
well.
Southern made donuts. You need to come get one of them. Yeah.
Okay, well. Let me just tell you what Krispy Kreme is. For those of you who know what Krispy Kreme is, when the hot sign is on, that
Mm.
means the donuts are hot and the
Mhm.
donuts melt in your mouth. And you want to go get 2-3 dozen boxes because you want some warm donuts. They just melt in your mouth.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of times we expect life to be that way. We expect life to be a Krispy Kreme life, you know, but it's not. It's not designed that way. You're gonna go through trials and tribulations and all this stuff. But I took what Dr. Warren said to me as motivation. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
When he sees me now, he said, "Man, I'm so proud of you."
Mhm.
He said, "I'm so proud." He saw me a couple years ago. We talked for a long time. He said, "I'm so proud of you." He said, "Because you persevered. All the stuff you went through, you still made it. You persevered."
Mhm.
You know, and so I took that moment to say, you know what? I know what he is saying to me. He has his best interest in mind for me.
Mhm.
And so I took it as motivation, not to say I'm gonna show him what I can do, you know, but I took it as motivation that maybe I need to buckle down more in class.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And stay focused in class. Because I'm gonna tell the truth. When I was at Oakwood, I tried to preach at every doggone worship service. I did. I will still travel and go preach places. I would try to preach at every dorm service. I try to preach at chapel or student week of prayer, AYS. I'm preaching all over, but I'm lacking in class. And one of the things that Dr. Doggett always said to us, you are a student first.
Mhm.
You are not a pastor. You're a
Mhm.
student.
Mhm.
You get in here, get these books.
Mhm.
That's gonna come later.
I
But
don't. I
but
don't
but
think.
but but that motivated me. That moment that Dr. Warren and I had at that particular time, it motivated me. It pushed me. And sometimes you need people. I need somebody to hear this that's gonna push you into your greatness.
Woo!
You
Boy,
need
you
people
You
that's
said
gonna
need people
you
that's
need
gonna
people that's gonna
push you
push you into
into
your
your
greatness.
greatness.
That's gonna
Hashtag that.
push
Huh?
you. And and here it is. Every time somebody is telling you something, it's not always negative.
Mm.
Sometimes you need people who's gonna push you. If Dr. Warren did not see anything in me, he probably would have never said anything to me.
Mhm.
He probably would just graded my paper, and I kept on failing tests, and probably got an F out the class.
Mhm.
But because he saw something inside of me
Mhm.
that I did not see in myself, he set me down and had a one-on-one conversation with me
Mhm.
and said, "Hey, you know, I'm not saying ministry's not for you. What I'm saying is maybe you may want to think and go in a different direction if this doesn't work out for you."
Mhm.
now. Did you think of doing anything else?
Well, actually, I did. When I got to Oakwood, one of my advisors at the time was a gentleman by the name of George Bartholomew, and George Bartholomew always said something to, it's particular to theology majors. He always said to theology majors, "Get you another major or minor because it's not guaranteed that you're gonna get picked up.
Mm.
Ministry opportunities aren't guaranteed." And so he encouraged theology majors and minors to get a double major or a minor. And so for me, I changed my major to religious education,
Mm.
and I did theology as a minor because I couldn't understand the Greek and the Hebrew languages. It was difficult for me. Um, um, and so I took a different path, stayed in ministry, but took a different path of type of ministry. And so that's the direction God led me in.
So, I just heard I heard something powerful just now. Let me tell you what I heard. Perseverance does not mean the same track. It means the same direction.
Correct.
Mm.
Correct.
That can preach, no, Jimmy?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Perseverance doesn't mean the same track. It
Correct.
doesn't mean I have to do the same thing,
Correct.
but it means I go in the same direction.
Direction. Correct.
And what you figured out was, hey, um, for whatever reason, Greek and Hebrew is a stumbling block,
Hmm.
but it's not going to prevent me
Correct.
from progressing.
Correct.
And I think that's commendable. I think there's a word there.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think there's a word there that just because there's a stumbling block doesn't mean I stop,
Correct.
doesn't mean I turn back. I
Correct.
might have to reassess, I might have to realign, I might have to come from
Correct.
a different direction,
Correct.
but I don't stop.
Correct.
And that's the word for you tonight. If you are facing any challenge in your life,
Mm.
don't quit, don't stop. So
Correct.
we don't have anybody for in the gift section tonight. So let's keep going. We have 3 more minutes. So your your how you dealt with failure was to reassess and keep going,
Hmm.
or what seemed like failures was to reassess and keep going.
Correct. 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 And don't always look at failure as this person don't like me
Mm.
or this person's out to get me. But ask God to help you to see what the person's actually saying to you.
Right. And you saw where, because I have a disability,
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to do some more hard work. I can't
Correct.
be like Prince and travel the whole country
Correct.
and have a Greek test Monday morning.
Correct.
I have to do some more work. I have to. It's one of the things that I like about my daughter. My daughter has Crohn's disease, Pastor.
Hmm.
I think I told you that last time.
Yes.
And one of
Yes.
the things I love about her is her disease causes her to miss school. So she had 9 absences last time.
Hmm.
Would you believe me if I tell you that she turned in her work before everybody else? Would you believe me, Gibson, if I told you that? She turned
Yeah.
in, and the reason she did that was because she knew she has this disability that's
Correct.
going to take her out of school. So
Correct.
she went and she contacted her teacher and she accepted, I have this disability that's going to do this to me. So she contacts her teacher. She said, I
Correct.
want my work ahead of time. She get it done ahead of time. So that when she's in the hospital, she's there with her book. And so
Correct.
the lesson I'm hearing from you, Pastor, and the lesson for me that I want to take away tonight is accept my disabilities, accept my restriction. Here it is.
Correct.
Here's the word I want. Accept my no, become self aware to know my limitations and make the necessary adjustments.
Correct.
Does that
Correct.
sound good?
That sounds great. And I'm gonna tell you, man, every professor that I've had in all of the departments or disciplines at Oakwood, but particularly in the theology department, have always been a blessing to me.
Now you got to give a
Um,
shout out to Dr. Spulveda if you
um,
had him.
for from Dr. Allen to Dr. Lampkin
Shan.
to Dr. Burden to Shan the Man to Dr. James Richard Doggett, um, all the professors, Dr. Quasey, all the professors at Oakwood in the religion theology department were a blessing to me.
Mm.
They pushed me. Um, they made me a better person.
Mm.
They made me a better minister. They made me a better professional. Um, they pushed me intellectually. They pushed me spiritually. They pushed me emotionally. They because they saw something inside of me. And I'm a firm believer that when people don't see value in you, when they don't see something inside of you, they're not going to waste time trying to push you.
That's right. That's right.
They're
That's right.
not going to waste time trying to push you.
That's
But if they see something inside of you that they know you can make it, that they know you got value despite your circumstance, despite your disability, despite what's going on in your life, there's greatness inside of you.
that's right. That's
You
right.
see what I'm saying? And because they see it, they push you into it. And so I'm eternally grateful for every professor, from every professor I've ever had at Oakwood, whether it's in the math department, the sciences department, religion theology, because Oakwood was an experience for me. It took me 9.5 years to finish, but I finished.
That's right. That's right.
Um,
Doc, and we have to finish here tonight at 9:02 p.m. We want to thank you, Pastor Cousins, for coming on again. My question is, will you come back? Because I think we have some more, because I want to hear about marriage. I want to hear about you traveling the country to preach. Don't you want to have some more conversations, Jimmy?
Yes, sir.
And my wife missed you tonight, so I know
Yes.
So will you come back?
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yes, sir.
then, Anna Kay, you heard the man.
And,
Jimmy, I'm gonna ask you to say the last word to us before we go.
So, Pastor Cousins, thank you for giving us the charge
Mm-hmm.
to don't ever give up,
Yes.
to keep pushing.
You might have to reassess, but
You
don't
might have to
stop.
reassess. You might have to tweak.
But
You
don't
might have
stop.
to adjust, but
But don't
never
stop.
stop.
That's right.
Allow God to redirect you in His GPS system.
Woo.
That when you mess up, you hear the Holy Spirit say, recalculating.
mhm.
Let God do the recalculating.
That's right.
But your
That's right.
destination never stops.
That's right.
So your calling and your gifting, wherever God desires you to go,
That's right.
you just adjust it. And so I thank you for your encouragement tonight. And I thank you for your perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you my buddy, you my friend. I love you like a fat kid love cake, and I'm a fat kid that loves cake. That's how much I love you. And
Yeah, man.
I thank
Likewise.
thank
Likewise.
you. And
Likewise.
Pastor Taylor,
Well,
I thank that, thank you for having Pastor Cousins on.
We'll have him again, Doc. We'll have him
and,
again.
and let me say
Listen.
thank you all for allowing me to come on a second time.
Oh, we have you on a third time, Doc. We'll have you on a third time.
I appreciate it, and I look forward to doing it again sometime.
It's good conversation. We'll have you on again. Listen, y'all, if it's Monday night, you're live with KW. Thank you so much for being with us. Peace.